Hey, what's up guys? I'm still here in Montreal enjoying Langfest, having a blast. And all the events at Langfest are kind of taking up a lot of my time, but I still wanted to make a really quick video tonight just to give you guys something for over the weekend. Normally I try to post on Mondays and Fridays. I didn't post anything yesterday, so you're getting it today. And what I wanted to talk about today is something that's been on my mind over the course of the last few days. And that is, how much do you want people to correct your errors and your mistakes when you're speaking a foreign language? And it's been on my mind a lot because I'm here in Montreal couch surfing, and I was fortunate enough to get a really nice couch surfing host who speaks French fluently as his native language. And the really nice thing about this is that he's willing to speak to me only in French. And that's a rare find. When you find someone like that, you gotta keep them. They're golden, because normally they just want to switch to English because it's easier. And that's fine, you know, you want to maintain your relationships with people. And it's just a lot easier to communicate in whatever language is the strongest language shared between the two of you. And in our case, that's English, but he's willing to speak with French. He's willing to speak with me in French just to help me learn better. And of course, my French is not great. I would say probably a B level. I don't know, it's hard for me to judge. I would say I'm a strong B, like maybe right in the middle, hardcore intermediate. And so I'm making all kinds of mistakes. And first of all, before I even get into how much you should be corrected, you should be making mistakes. Like that's not negotiable. You should be making mistakes. If you're not making mistakes when you speak, it means you're not pushing yourself hard enough. Okay? If you only say things that you know are going to come out grammatically correct, that's not good, because you're staying within your comfort zones. You're not leaving, you're not pushing yourself if you're not making mistakes. So the only way you're going to learn is to say things wrong at first and then slowly become better and learn more. I don't know what this sound is, some kind of cicadas or something. I don't know if you can hear that or not. It's really annoying bugs. Anyways, yeah, so with that said, you should be making lots of mistakes. The more the better. Don't be afraid to speak just because you know you're going to say something wrong. Say it wrong anyways. I mean, unless you can say it right, of course. Like, if you know the right way to say it, then don't make mistakes on purpose. But where was I going with this? Yeah, you're going to want to make a lot of mistakes, as many as you can, because if you're making lots of mistakes, then it means you're trying really hard. Now, how much do you want people to correct you? Well, that's going to depend. It's going to depend on your circumstances. It's going to depend on your level. Are you a C 1.5? Are you an A1? You know, what is the circumstances of the conversation? Are you talking with someone online? Are you doing a language exchange for the purpose of learning languages? Are you in the store talking to an employee trying to buy something, right? In that case, you're not going to say, "I'm sorry, my French is really bad, but please correct all of my errors," because the employee is just trying to sell you your merchandise and move on to the next customer. Okay? There's all kinds of human interactions that I can't list them here. You're going to have to go off a case-by-case scenario, a case-by-case basis, depending on the scenario. But in general, I find I want people to correct my errors as much as possible without hindering the conversation too much. Now, sometimes, you know, you're in the car. Well, this happened to me a lot this weekend, because my couch surfing host lives quite a ways away from the center of Montreal. So we're spending a lot of time in the car driving around. You know, we're going into Montreal all the time. And so we spend a lot of time just hanging out in the car, talking, not really having real deep conversations about anything important, just kind of, you know, making small talk and stuff. And that's a perfect conversation for me to say, listen, every time I make a mistake, let me know, because you know, we're just talking about the weather, talking about, I don't know, sports, talking about nothing real in particular. So it's not really important. You know, if we change the subject and we start talking about grammar rather than whatever we were talking about, no big deal. Other times when I actually have important information to convey with him, you know, we're planning our schedule for the next day, those are times where, well, sometimes we just do speak that in English. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna be a hypocrite here. If I have something really important to convey and I don't know how to say it in French, then we'll go to English. Otherwise, as long as my point is getting across, then we don't worry too much about the fine points of grammar. Another thing I wanted to talk about is my Esperanto channel. And if you've never seen that, I've linked to it here on this channel a few times. But if you've never seen that, I encourage you to take a look, even if you don't speak Esperanto, because what you're gonna find is a channel of I would say, I don't know, like I said, it's hard for me to judge levels, but I would say my level in Esperanto is maybe A1 or A2 to B1, somewhere in there. I don't really have a good grasp on the scale all the time, but I'm not a very beginner, but I wouldn't say I'm quite at an intermediate level. It's hard to judge. But all that to say that if you watch my Esperanto channel, you're gonna see a lot of mistakes, and you're gonna see a lot of how do you say, I can't think of the word, you know, and that's just kind of how it goes on and on. But what I've been doing recently is doing little live streams, and that's really handy because while I'm speaking in Esperanto in front of a live audience, screwing up and making mistakes, they're correcting my mistakes. That's the nice thing about the Esperanto community. There's a lot of people on YouTube who are really good at speaking Esperanto, and they're not afraid to correct you. Well, actually, sometimes they are. You know, sometimes they'll say, "Oh, I'm so sorry to correct your mistakes, but I just wanted to point this one thing out." And I'm like, "Don't apologize. Why the heck do you think I'm making this channel in the first place?" Right? Like, if I was gonna be offended by you correcting mistakes, then I just would never talk. Right? I'm not speaking in Esperanto because I think I'm speaking perfectly. I'm speaking because I want to get better. And the only way for me to get better is for you to point stuff out. And you know, to be 100% honest, I make so many mistakes on that channel that I know it's impossible for people to list all the mistakes that I make per video. So they point out the big ones, the main ones, the things that might impede understanding, and you know, the less noticeable ones, or I don't know, I guess I don't really know how they decide what errors to correct and which ones to forget. But that's the whole point. They correct the main ones, the big errors. And you know, as you get better and you get more confident, then the errors that they're correcting are gonna start becoming more and more fine, right? It's not just the big things that are gonna impede communication. You start talking about meanings and nuance, and oh, you used the wrong preposition and you still got your point across, but I think what you meant to say was a little bit more like this, or the way you said it had a different connotation than what you intended. Anyways, yeah, it's been a huge help for my Esperanto having all these people correcting all of my errors on that channel. In fact, if you're active in the comment section on this channel, you'll probably see Rafa. He usually leaves comments on my videos here in Esperanto, and he's also been a big help on my Esperanto channel. So that's just all I really wanted to talk about today. It was kind of off the cuff because I've been so busy with all the events here at Langfest. But the good thing about that is, even though you're not getting a real professional video this weekend, I had kind of been running dry on ideas of what to talk about in my videos, and coming here this weekend has just given me so many ideas. I'm sitting in all these seminars and I gotta whip out my iPad and start you know, taking notes about a video idea that has just popped into my head while listening to the seminar, and you know, gotta write it down in the iPad before I forget. So I got a lot of ideas, you know, bouncing around in my head right now. And so I think you're gonna get a lot of interesting content coming up the next few weeks, just because of the things that have been inspired in my mind this weekend at Langfest. So yeah, it's been a real good time, and I think I'm gonna cut the video off here. It's already gone longer than I intended, but thanks for watching the video, and we'll see you guys sometime soon.